struggles. The other struggle I have is the very first one. That love is patient. I am not patient, guys.
Come on, Gary. Give me the gas pedal.
I'm not patient. I'm learning to be patient. I'm not patient by nature. I even talked about it Sunday when we were talking about spiritual gifts, that Leslie and I are so opposite. That's why we got married. And that when we arrive at a place, I'm out of the car in like 3 seconds. She's getting her stuff together. I'm looking at her like, you saw us pulling in here. Why are you just now getting it? And just, after 36 years, realize we're not changing each other. So I'm waiting for her, being patient. It's just a way to be patient.
Sure.
And so I'm not patient. Those are my two.
Yeah. We joke about it.
What one do you think I have?
How am I great at this?
Welcome to the After Church Podcast, where we take what we hear on Sunday and apply it to our lives on Monday. Today we have a great episode where we're talking about the squishy emotional feeling of love. Nope, we're getting into the bare bones, we're getting into the truth of what love is and how we do enact that with one another. You don't want to miss this one. So let's jump in the podcast. Kurt, Gary, welcome back to the podcast.
Good morning.
Craig, Gary. What's up?
Hey, there we go. That's how we do it. Glad you guys are here.
Glad to be here.
This is we're in our Messy Church series, but honestly, I feel like we've got a really great passage that's not so messy. Maybe when we get in here, it's going to get a little messier, but
yeah. It feels like he's trying to clean up the mess a little bit, maybe in this passage.
Right. And we were coming out of chapter 12, which was a lot about spiritual gifts, right? And so we've the last two sermons, we've talked about both spiritual gifts and unity in the church. And it's just interesting that Paul then will come with it's like he's kind of sandwiching this passage about love. That's what we're talking about today is in 1 Corinthians 13 is love. And the love passage that a lot of people hear at weddings, very kind of popular passage because it's so fluffy and wonderful, right? Like love is just beautiful, wonderful, fluffy. And I think one of the points we want to make is it's not just a love, it's not just a fluffy emotion, but that it's grounded in something that's truth and solid. And I think, we'll probably hear that from the passage. So if you guys are cool, I would just like to read chapter. It's really a short chapter.
I'll allow it.
Okay. Thanks, Kurt. Okay. 1 Corinthians 13, it says, if I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but do not have love, I'm only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and I have faith that can move mountains, but I do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. And here's the part we hear a lot at weddings. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part. Then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. A beautiful passage.
Yes.
I do love how at the end we have this triad of the greatest kind of things. And Paul says that these three remain, faith, hope, and love, but the greatest is love. And I always like to think it's the greatest. Why? I mean, God is love. Maybe that's why it's the greatest. But if you think about eternity, is there need for faith and hope in the eternity, right? Like if you're now face to face with Christ,
right,
your faith is made sure, it's solid.
Right.
I see him, right? The faith in whether he's there or not is, I can see him, he's there.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the hope is like, well, hope is something that we're, one day, Christ returns, or one day we spend eternity with him. Well, now we are. And so that hope is now, again, made secure. But love, it just keeps on going, right? Like it's
Right.
the eternal thing that
I even kind of wondered, does love, that word love never fails. Other translations, it never falls, it never gets less, it never decreases. I kind of wonder about that too. That last verse, like faith and hope, like you're saying, they are realized in eternity.
Right.
We see Him face to face. Our hope is realized.
It's there.
It's
Yep.
there.
Yep.
And
It's
the
Christmas
love,
Day, yeah.
maybe that's the point, is that the love is like that's the reason we were made, and that's the relationship we have with God. And so maybe for all eternity, we continue to grow in our love and affection for Him for eternity. And He, like we're known, and He knows us, and all that. I don't know. It's just a neat thought to think. It's like faith and hope come to their complete point, and then love is like for all eternity can grow as we enjoy Him forever, so to speak. And
that seems crazy, doesn't it? I mean, like we've experienced love in our lifetime, and hopefully you do now. But I mean, like that kind of like really, maybe even euphoric type love. Like it can't get any better than this. And to think that it could continue to get better and better forever.
Right. Perfectly.
I'll sign up for that.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, let's just walk through some of these these descriptors of love, because Paul uses some like positive, and he uses several negatives too. So he starts off with just it's patient and it's kind.
Yeah.
I think those are pretty simple to understand. And then he goes into some of the what it's not. It's not envious.
Yeah.
So maybe in any time I throw something out there that NLT has something different, man.
No. I was even wanting to back up a little further.
Yeah, go ahead.
To the front where he just talks about that if you do something without love, it doesn't make any difference. He says you're a noisy gong. You're annoying. That's what he. That's what
gong.
He says you're. I mean, I just want like to me, it's just a great picture of that. We think, hey, I'm going to accomplish these things, like he says, if you have these spiritual gifts, but you don't love, man, you're just annoying to people. Or if that last part of the scripture where he says that if I gave everything to the poor, everything. And I even sacrificed my body, I could boast about it. But if I didn't love, I'd gain nothing. Like he frames it that love is it, that all these other things that we pursue and we chase and we think are important, they're not. Without love, they mean nothing. And look, we forget this so often.
Yeah.
We are such an accomplishment society. Even in the ministry, we're taking the next hill. We're charging and even exercising our faith to accomplish things. But he said, hey, without love, it doesn't matter. And just I thought, what a great way to frame it at the beginning.
Yeah. And he said, he starts this whole chat. We call them chapters. I wasn't writing chapters, but kind of the transition phrase he says is, I will show you the most excellent way.
Right.
Like he's in all this, the spiritual gifts and all these other things. And he's like, well, I really want to pause here, almost give a parenthesis and go, but here's the most excellent thing. Kind of a way of saying, this is the best thing you're doing. There's lots of good things.
Right.
And even like you're saying, Gary, if we're giving to the poor, and I have this great faith, and I can fathom all mysteries and knowledge, and I can speak in tongues, whatever gifts you may have, all those good things. None of those are bad things.
Right.
They're good things, but they're not the best thing. The best thing is love. And if we forget that, we forget everything. We forget the reason we're created.
Right.
We forget the greatest commandment. Jesus was asked about it. He just said love.
Right.
And when Paul in Galatians 5, he starts the fruit of the Spirit with love. It's love. And the great fruit of the Spirit is not you had some gift. It was who you love. I mean, it's going to start there.
It's not going to
end there.
It's not your accomplishments. It's not how well you do things. And man, we just lose track of that because we feel, for some reason, we feel better when we succeed, when we accomplish, when we have. And I don't know. Those are just great descriptors to me, especially the first one. Just you know how annoying a gong is, or something that just keeps hitting on something. Just
you kind of wish Paul just said that. You're annoying.
Someone did a sermon here. Maybe you were doing a sermon here one time where you were just banging on the cymbal as you were talking.
I think Scott did that. I remember. Yeah,
Scott Moore. Somebody
Scott did it.
Banging on it while he was talking.
It is like,
annoying.
It's annoying.
Please stop. He was like, well, see, that's the whole point, isn't it?
That's great. I'm going to do that Sunday.
I think it's a great example, right? Really. But so. One of the things Jesus says himself too is to some disciples that were following him, you can go out and cast out demons and you can heal people in my name, but I will say to you, I didn't know you.
Right.
And I think we wrap up with this when we get to the end, kind of about that being fully known part, that there's something about love that's being known. Like Jesus says, I didn't know you, which means you weren't doing those things in love, right? For me or for those people.
Yeah.
Whatever their reasoning, it wasn't the right reason. And I just think that's wonderful points because, man, I don't want to be a gong. What is it?
A gong?
A gong?
Gonga.
Some translations have it is mine. Yeah, resounding gong.
Yeah, noisy gong, clanging cymbal.
Yeah. That's even worse, right? Like just
It's like you're announcing yourself. Every time you walk in a room, you just hit a gong.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah.
You're annoying.
You're probably too young to remember the gong
Gong
show.
show. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
It was the thing when you were the bombing, like boom.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're out of here. Yeah, no one wants to be that guy. So the positive things, it's patient. Love is patient.
Yeah.
Love is kind. But then it switches to the negatives, not envy. It does not envy. So in a sense, that means what? It's content. Love is content. Right. It does not boast. And we've all been around people who brag. It's like, oh my gosh, no, please stop. So in other words, it lifts others up, right? Instead of itself, love lifts other people up. It's not proud. So love is humble. It does not dishonor. Well, that's a good one, right? Like to think about in love, it shows honor. Love shows honor to other people. Love is not self-seeking. If it's so good, why would you not think, bring more attention to it? But no, it's sacrificial. Love is sacrificial. It's not easily angered. So in whatever the opposite, it's either calm or it's
meek.
Love is meek. That's a good one. Yeah. It keeps no record of wrong. Man, how about that? Like I know I have probably done that a lot in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Just keep a record. But so love forgives. Love is a forgiving. It does not delight in evil, and it kind of gives us the opposite of this. It rejoices in truth. Mm-hmm. So love is more than just a feeling. It does rejoice in truth, right? There's a truth side to it. And then just these four positives, man. It always protects. It always trusts. It always hopes. It always perseveres. I like that part about love, that it doesn't give up.
Refuses to stop.
Yeah. It's just like you kind of said it. It keeps growing and growing. Yeah. But it just never gives up. Like love doesn't give up. It never fails. And man, that's a great. Well, Paul probably knows what he was doing when he was writing this thing. But he's like, love doesn't fail. Yeah. Like that's the way. I
wonder if Paul knew this would be used at a lot of weddings. So everybody would go,
oh, wow. Paul's like, that is not it's not just that point of marriage.
Right.
It's like, love does not nag. Yeah. Wait a minute. That's not what it says. Kinda, but not really. Well, we had a couple of discussion questions that we want to get to today too. Any significance? I think we might have kind of covered it, but any significance in kind of this passage being squeezed between the spiritual gifts section? Obviously, we don't want to do the gifts and not be led by love or do them in love. But is there any? You guys dig up anything else? Because I don't have anything else. I was just asking. Just seems weird that it's thrown right in the middle.
Yeah, kind of what we've already said. But, the Corinthians certainly seem to have a fascination with the gifts, spirituality, which a lot, like even when you read like Ephesians, you can kind of see that too. They lived in a very spiritual culture. And even like with Ephesus, it was, witchcraft and, sorcery and these kind of things. And then he's writing about the spiritual battles going on. And I think Corinth is probably pretty similar they were just fascinated with that. And they were fascinated with like the speaking gifts. We've mentioned in other podcasts how Corinth was a sort of a center of public speaking. And so that was very great to them. And if I can have this gift, it was the best thing. And then the boasting. So I think our very first message in 1 Corinthians back in the spring was about the boasting. That was their biggest issue. They loved to boast about what they could do, the gifts they had, the things they had accomplished. And so I think Paul just kind of gets to a breaking point almost as he's writing these things. He's probably just frustrated. Yeah. And he's just, man, I just need to drill into them the real truth and the real point of all this. And it's love. I just want to stop and go, as we're talking about your gifts, man, it's great to have those gifts. You should be building one another up. But listen, if you're not doing it in love, then you're missing the whole point. So,
yeah, same thing. That elevating people and gifts to the point where people were actually being shunned or shamed that they didn't have certain gifts.
Yeah.
And it's funny. It's not your gift. God gave it to you, but because I have it, I'm better than you.
Right.
And so, that to me is why he's got it sandwiched in there.
Yeah.
Real quickly, some maybe that content now overlaid onto today, because I do see in our culture, American culture is, just a very me-centered, consumeristic. It's liberty first, right? Like don't mess with my freedoms because I'm American, right? I can be independent and all about me.
Right.
Do you see some of that? Like we're probably in a post-Christian. Now they call it pre-Christian. I don't know if you've heard this phrase. Like they're starting to call the culture a pre-Christian culture because so many of, like, let's say our millennials who didn't grow up in church are now having kids who are in, elementary and middle school now who really don't have any concept of there's a lot of meism that drives it, and they have no biblical stories. They don't know Ten Commandments. They none of that. But yet you see these families kind of spiritual, right? They're looking for something to fill that void, and it gets replaced. And maybe this is a centuries old thing, but it gets replaced by political ideology, like political parties or different concepts and ideologies that they have today. A lot of social justice. And you start asking, why are they doing these things? Is it to make themselves feel better, or is it to fill a void in their own life? Or are those things born out of love? Like, are they really the impetus for those actions, love? And I wonder. I feel like there's some similar threads happening in our culture.
Yeah,
you were talking about boasting, and you can't listen to a song on the radio now without it. It's just about me and my greatness and, all those things.
or delighting in evil.
Right. Yes.
Or self-seeking, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our whole social media culture is built on look at me, look at me, look at me, right?
Keeping a record of wrongs. Taylor Swift got famous on that, Joe. Not trying to make any enemies. I'm just saying. Every song is about that.
Stay off.
You just messed up. You just messed up.
I'm
big time,
just
man.
telling you,
just
but
messed
it's the
up.
reality, right?
That's right. Yeah. Record after
And
record.
we love it. We love it.
You tell me more, Taylor. The gospel according to Taylor.
I think even in the church, though, we have this bad habit of elevating people on platforms.
Yeah.
Oh,
If you're on a platform, singing, sharing, preaching, that there's this. People automatically think that you're up here.
Got a certain charisma.
Yeah, and that was one of the things when we had the message on spiritual gifts, and one of the pastors in the area, his name is Justin Adams. We were just talking about. He said, the most important person in the room is the guy running the sound. And we don't think of it like that, do it? And I thought, he's exactly right. When he said that, he's exactly right. And it's the guy that we don't see. And it's the person who's rocking a baby, so that the parents can be in there. And,
Right.
But we don't lift up people like that.
Yeah.
And that's what I think even the church, we have this bad habit of just elevating and sometimes pastors about boasting,
Right.
Sure.
and lifting themselves up those same ways. Or even if someone has the gift of singing, sometimes they could be boastful in that because it's a rare gift. Not everybody has that gift.
And gifts of administration, gifts of mercy,
Right.
gifts of faith, like things that are sometimes not upfront.
Right.
People don't see those things.
Yeah.
Trey, you have a great gift for administration. You have a fantastic gift for that. It is a gift that serves the church and builds up the church in amazing ways. Something not everybody always sees.
Yeah, they don't see it.
Right. And so, it's exactly it. It's easy to boast in the ones that everybody sees and it's out there, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I think this is the evening of the playing field right here in this chapter.
Right.
That's right. But even then, like with the behind the scenes things too, it's like if you're just doing that to tick the box and not with love, he's even saying that's no good. You can give all your money away.
Yeah.
And no one ever know about it.
Yeah.
He said you could boast about it.
Yeah, right.
You can tell everybody about it.
Yeah.
He said you're nothing.
Yeah. I can't. Ooh, I don't want that. So let's talk about the real love, guys. Two questions we'll get to. One is going to be if there's a particular struggle with English. I mean, with love that you might have. So any characteristic of the love that we just mentioned, all those things. If there's one you struggle with, let's talk about that, and then flip it, and we'll say, have you ever seen one of these attributes of love fleshed out before, either in your own life, maybe if you got a story you want to share there, or you've seen it in somebody else. So just have at it. Let's hear the
I
story.
want to jump in here and say, this to me is great reminder. If you're not a follower of Christ, and you may see Christian people, or you may have these thoughts that, man, being a Christian is easy. This part right here is one of the hardest ways to live.
Yeah.
It is so hard that we talk about love, and we talk about being squishy and ooey and weddings and everybody. Ooh. But listen, if you practice this, that takes work.
Oh,
It takes
man,
an amount of discipline, self-denial, that it is one of the most difficult ways. It's the best way to live, but it's one of the most difficult ways to live.
Yeah. It hurts, doesn't it? I mean, it hurts
There's
to
times where
love.
you're, and so, I'll say, for me, one of the ones is we already said is keeping a record of wrongs. I think it's human nature.
Sure.
Yeah.
That somebody wrongs us, you remember, we just do. I mean, we're trying to move past, and it happens again. You're like, okay, that's strike two. We do.
Right.
And then we get to strike three, and we're going to write people off. And that's not right. We know, Christ doesn't do us, God doesn't do us that way. But just this fleshiness that is one of my struggles. The other struggle I have is the very first one, that love is patient. I am not patient, guys.
Come on, Gary. You need a gas pedal.
I'm not patient. I'm learning to be patient. I'm not patient by nature. I even talked about it Sunday when we were talking about spiritual gifts, that Leslie and I are so opposite. And that's why we got married. And that when we arrive at a place, I'm out of the car in like 3 seconds. She's getting her stuff together. I'm looking at her like, you saw us pulling in here. Why are you just now getting it? And just, after 36 years, realize we're not changing each other.
Just live with it.
Yeah. So I'm waiting for her, being patient. It's just a way to be be
Sure.
And so I'm not patient. Those are my two.
Yeah.
You
we joke about it.
What one do you think I have?
How am I great at this?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean,
just we joke about you being a gas pedal. I mean, and charismatic, strong leaders often are, right? So it's not like, yes, it still has to be done with love. I get it. But yeah, I mean, like, that's what balances people out, though, right? Like, I like that. It's what makes a good team too.
Yeah, I definitely could probably go through each one of these and talk about how I fail at that and don't do well at it. I don't know. Probably the two that I think for gosh, again, I'm just looking at all of them like, oh yeah, that's me. Honestly, okay, envy. I think that's one. I've struggled with it. I've struggled with envy and just not being content. You said that, the contentment of where I am, who I am, what I have, whatever. It's easy for me. It has been for my whole life to look at other people and think, man, I wish I had that, or I wish I was like, I wish maybe that started from a young age. True. I mean, just part of my story. I come from a broken family, so that was part of it. Of like, man, I would go to like friends' houses and see they had a mom and dad that loved each other and had like a nuclear family. I was like, that. Wish I had that, And of course, I would want that, but so maybe that would grow into envy in me, and just even as I've gotten older, and even as a pastor. I mean, that's part of my nature. It's part of all of our nature to not be content, and that's one that I bring up because I think, and I do really hit on this in the sermon, because I think envy is a sin that is one of those that's easy to hide, and it's not it's not one of the big open sins that anybody would see. But man, if I'm holding that in my heart, and actually in Greek writing and in Greek thought, it was envy that was most closely connected with violence. And we see that in Scripture, right? Why'd they kill Jesus?
Yeah.
It literally says, Luke says it was envy, right?
The first murder.
Why did Cain kill Abel?
Yeah,
it was
good.
envy, right? So many times in Scripture we actually see that, and it's a dangerous thing to hold in your heart. So I have to check that myself often. And then just being real, love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. How many times have I delighted in evil? How many times have I just allowed myself to watch something or listen to something or take part in a conversation that was not honoring to the Lord? And just had to back up from those things, or maybe I didn't in the moment, but later was just like, man, I shouldn't have even been part of that conversation.
Right.
Or I've done that and had to really think through, gosh, I don't want to, even if I'm not like rejoicing that the bad thing was happening with myself or somebody else. And that can even be part of that, like not delighting in the evil, maybe evil that happened to an enemy, right? Do I delight in that? Because not even God delights in the destruction of the wicked. He doesn't delight in it. He delights in justice. I believe that, and I believe we should, but I don't believe he delights in people going to hell. Right. He doesn't love that.
Right.
No.
He doesn't love the bad things happening. He loves to love people and to bring people to himself. And I think I've struggled with that at times. Like, I don't like that person. Something bad happened to them, and I get a little bit of a good.
Right.
Yeah, awesome. versus like, man, I want to pray for that person. I want to serve that person. It should be my desire to see that person come to know the Lord, not to get what they deserve,
Right.
or whatever. Or in various other ways, it might be delighting in evil. So anyway, like I said, I could probably go through all of them, but I think those two are sums up.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we're describing our fallen sinful nature.
Sure.
Is in all these things. I am too. Envy is a tough one for me, and again, because you can hide it. I think it's one of those like safety nets for me. I go, man, I wish I had that, and it's usually about stuff, right? Like, and for me, so that one's going to then bleed into one of the positives that love always trusts, and to me, that's a difficult thing for me to be 100% trusting. Even in God. I mean, I know humans will let us down because I know I'm going to let somebody down, so I get it. But even to think, well, the Lord's got this. I'm like, yeah, but man, I'm kind of, had to take out a loan on the so-and-so the other day like that. Is he really going to take care of that? Or did I make some boneheaded decisions? Or is this, and then I get into that game of, is this punishment, or is this the consequences, or is this pruning, or, or am I being tested to trust the Lord? All of that. And just like, as a pastor, that's hard. That's still hard for me to sort through all the time and go, what category does that fall in? At the end of the day, I still have to trust. And one of the always trusts, I like to use this phrase, is I think trusting is giving someone the benefit of the doubt. Always leading with the benefit of the doubt. And man, I can, you and I've had conversations where I've been like, man, I was all wrong on that because I went into it not giving you the benefit of the doubt. I thought you were thinking a certain way, and it was like,
it's hard. I agree. And the enemy, I'll let you finish, but the enemy is really good about using our insecurities and what's happened in the past to frame what's happening now. And he does it with us all the time. And, we find this a lot of times in marriage. When you're thinking your spouse, because something happens, you're thinking they did. You're just getting, no, I'm not, and they're not. But because he's really good, just like in those situations. That's good, Trey, about trusting. Trust is hard.
It is, and it goes back to records are wrong, right? You're like, and I wonder how many times I've been in an argument with my wife, and like, wait a minute, that came up again. I thought we've already settled that. It's like, oh, we're holding the records wrong again. Love doesn't do that,
right?
And
hard to do.
Maybe right at the center of all of it is the self-seeking, right? It's if we would stop navel gazing, right, and not stop just looking at ourselves, thinking about ourselves, worrying about whatever, just looking at myself and not considering the other. If we'd stop doing that, a lot of these would take care of themselves. We're just looking to the needs of others. The Philippians 2, right, where he's getting onto them for that. Like, this is not how we live as Christians. We don't. It's not conceited. That's not who we are. We don't just look to our own interests, but we look to the interests of others. So anyway, right in the middle of all that, he's just, man, love is not self-seeking. And so if I am self-seeking, of course I'm going to be envious. Of course I'm going to boast. Of course I'm going to be proud. Of course I'm going to keep record of wrongs, because that's all about me now. And you wronged me, and I'm just seeking my own. And so if you wrong me, I'm holding on to that, and I'm going to get back, whatever. So that's self-seeking. And that's right at the center of sinful nature.
and think about how love doesn't say, I'm not being loved. Like, that's not, love says, man, are they being loved? Am I loving them? Not, I'm not being loved. Because that immediately, then we go through the whole list.
There's not a single qualifying clause in any of this that he says.
Right.
It keeps no record of wrongs unless. Keeps no record of wrongs if. Keeps no record of wrongs but. It's none of that's in there. It's just, this is what love does. Always.
Well, let's flip it then. What are some situations where either you or you've seen someone else like really, exhibit or manifest one of these attributes?
Go ahead.
Well, I'll just,
go ahead.
I've said this before. I married well, and I know you guys did.
Praise the Lord.
Yes. Leslie, she lives this so well. Even, I've told you my kids call her a saint. She loves very well. She's very rarely in a hurry, very rarely has a bad day. But I was going to tell you, like, I can't remember if I shared this on the podcast, but probably a month or two ago, man, I lied to her about something. Did I tell you all this?
Yeah, I think you said that. Yeah.
Right. Anyway, and just how she responded to that. It was just like, hey, I lied to you. I'm sorry. And never has brought up again. What I mean? Just moves on. And, just to me, when I look at her, she is and does this passage very, very well. Very rarely talks bad about, hardly ever talks bad about, just very emotionally strong and lives that out. So I see that. I don't know. I wish I was more like that.
Yeah, man, me too.
Yeah.
As you're describing it, I'm like, man, that sounds awesome to be that secure
Right.
in the love that,
Yeah.
I guess, receives from her identity in
Yes,
Christ.
right.
That's her identity in Christ.
Yeah. I think about Tara, my wife, always protects.
Oh, we're going to have to do this.
I mean, no, that's one. That's,
Along
guys.
I'm going to get to some other examples, but when I think about her, I definitely think about a person that always protect. Like, I'm going to fight for anybody. I'm going to protect. I'm going to look out for. Like she'll go to bat for anyone.
Right.
Which I love about her. But man, I have seen other wives who were done very wrong by husbands who were the most patient human beings I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
And fought for their marriages and I've seen husbands do that too. That's amazing when you see that kind of love. People that aren't holding the wrong against it, but like, man, they were really done wrong and are going, man, I love you and I'm going to fight for this thing. I think there's like 8 of those characteristics all up in that kind of love. And man, just how powerful that is. I think about a friend of mine that I was in college with named Josh, who's just the kindest person. And that word kind, as I was looking that up, it really means like to be at someone's service. That's what it means. That's kind of the nature of it. Like, I'm at your service.
Not just being nice.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So he was that kind of guy. He would ask the question all the time, hey, how can I help you? He just always would do that. And I like, that was something that taught me like, man, that's just so practical.
Right.
And it's so helpful to be that kind of person that goes, how can I help you? Can I serve you in some way? Like, that's being kind. And so, yeah, I mean, gosh, I think we all could say there's just, when you meet a person who exhibits those characteristics, it's something, it's special. It's something that you take notice of.
Right.
It's something that's different than the current of our world and our sinful nature.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those things stick with us.
And I'm going to, and we were not supposed to boast on other believers, but I can't. Cameron Moore comes to my mind,
Good call.
particularly around like the always perseveres, and we hear these Christian testimonies, and every testimony is a great story of what Christ has done. But we also often hear these like, I was way over here and then I'm way over here.
Yeah.
Christ saved me from the drugs, the porn, all the stuff. And it's like,
Yeah.
yes, you're right, and those are wonderful stories. They encourage us to show us that even Paul, even the worst of sinners can be redeemed. But there's a category of people like the Camerons who are, man, they've just been steady a long time. And I know he's not a perfect person, right, by any means, but just steady, daily time in the Lord, always praying, always trying to meet the needs of others, hospitality, like, trying to win the lost by inviting them into his home and breaking bread together. Just that kind of steady, persevering, that just to me exhibits love. That part sticks out to me because I am probably nothing like that guy, and I want to be like that guy. When I hear you talk about Leslie, I'm like, man, I want to be like that. So I think we find those people who stand out in those categories that we might not be great at, and go, man, I would love to be more like that. So anyway, I think Cameron was really good at that daily persevering walk. So, well, let's talk about then this passage right here at the end, and let's get to this knowing part. Paul kind of closes out this section by saying, "For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror," and in Corinth, mirrors were like a prized possession. They were actually, Corinth was known for its mirrors. They had a great mirror, not factory, but a whole industry where mirrors were a big deal, and they're very expensive. And so Christians probably didn't have them.
Right.
But but it wasn't like a mirror today. It was more dimly, and you could see yourself, but it
wasn't a very good reflection.
Right. And so that's kind of the point here. So he says, for now we see only as a reflection in a mirror, then we shall see face to face. And we've made this connection that we believe that's his clarity in front of Christ, whether that's at the end or at some point. So he says, now I know in part. That's part of this whole fuzzy mirror. We just only see things fuzzily, but then I shall know fully. So at some point, face to face with Christ, everything is now brought out in the open. Clarity, perfect, maybe knowledge, love, all of those things. Yeah. And he says, and he ends with, so I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. 2 different Greek words there too, but that fully known being fully exposed, but yet fully accepted, right? Like it's that kind of knowingness, very intimate knowingness. And so again, I would just go back to when Jesus' words about you've done all these great things in my name, but I didn't know you. There's some knowing and connection to Christ in this face-to-face knowing thing. Any comments there? Like just how does that strike you?
I think for me, it's super encouraging, one, that we are fully known by God and by Jesus, and he still chose to die for us. That when we read that passage of Scripture, that's exactly the way he treats us all the time. I mean, you think about it. Right. I mean, every time, that's what we get from him, that we get kindness, we get patience. We sin. He's not keeping a record of wrong. Think about all the sins we've committed in our lifetime. He doesn't keep a record of wrong. So that's super encouraging. When I first read that part, it's like, I am fully known by him, and man, and he still loves me. And if we just hit on that truth more often, that'd be a great truth to hold on to. But then the second part, that we are looking to be to fully know ourselves, and that day is coming. And he uses the word complete in the New Living Translation, that he says, "And I will know everything completely, just as God now knows me completely," which is a super encouraging thing to look forward to.
Man, just being in his presence like that. Oh.
Man, I can't help but think about the Garden of Eden in that moment of like what happens when sin comes in. It's now this shame, it's this fear. They hide and they have to be clothed, right? So it's like they realize they were naked and they felt ashamed, is what it says, and then they run and they hide from the Lord. And it's like God never stopped knowing them. Like it even says here, like I right now I'm fully known by the Lord. There's nothing he doesn't see about us. But it's like, to me, it just seems like in eternity, when that happens and we come face to face with the Lord and all is made known and all is exposed, and those of us who are in Christ, like there will be a judgment, and those of us who are in Christ, like it will be exposed, but we will be clothed in the righteousness of Jesus. But the beauty of the moment of, I'm face to face with God. And I know right now more than I've ever known and understood that he knows me, everything about me. Right. There's nothing hidden here. And now I know him, and I know me, and I know you, and like we know. It's like we just had this full knowledge finally, but it's like there's nothing hidden anymore,
right?
And there's no fear in that. Like that's the craziest part to me. That as we sit here and talk, like there's a part of our brains as we talk about not being hidden that goes, that's a little scary,
right? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, in Genesis it says they were naked and unashamed.
Right.
Whereas when we get naked, not even physically, but everything else, when we know who we are, it's shame.
Shame. That's all it is.
Shamed, man.
That's all it is. And that's the result of the fall. So it's this undoing of it that's going to happen. And it's this perfect love that will be like, it will wipe away the fear. It will wipe away the shame and everything else of just, I'm fully known and I fully know. And there's no shame in that. And there's perfect, like that's heaven, right? Like that is heaven's ethos right there. It's unashamed, perfect knowledge, perfect relationship and love for all eternity, God, and with one another, and how beautiful that is. So that's just where my mind goes of how amazing that hope is that we have.
Yeah, that is, man, it's beautiful thoughts, especially just thinking God is love. So he's all of these things all of the time to us. Like, God, that is amazing to think about. So last thing, maybe just on a real practical level, how do I exhibit this love? How do I get more of that in me to go out of me then? Like, what's the secret sauce here?
Well, God is love. I mean, it's certainly the Holy Spirit. Obviously, the fruit of the Spirit is love. That's where we start. We got to know God. That's what John says. 1 John 4:8. You got to know God. If you don't know God, you don't love, because God is love. You can't love if you don't know who love is. And so we start there. Do you know the Lord? Have you come to him in faith in Jesus Christ, who is the epitome and the manifestation of his love, and been filled with his Holy Spirit to be able to, this is agape, is the love that we're talking about, right? Agape love is that God love that is sacrificial and giving, and not self-seeking, all the things that is described here. It's God's love. So it's like, guys, this is impossible without God, without his love, without it dwelling within us, remaining and abiding. Again, go read 1 John. It's all about this. So that's where I would just say, if man, anybody listening to that, if you don't know God, you don't know love, and you can't possibly live that. Not that any of us will do it perfectly anyway,
right?
But it's certainly impossible to even have the right foot to get off on if God's Spirit is not living in us through faith in Jesus Christ, who is love.
So a surrender to Him. I'm hearing that, and then some sort of daily surrender. I
Yeah,
suppose.
I think
Right.
to remember that you are fully loved.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
If you would begin each day remembering, I'm fully loved. That in spite of all my flaws, my sins, my failures, my mistakes, because that's all we remember about ourselves. We grade ourselves that way,
Yep.
And
You don't look at all your trophies in the morning.
Yeah.
That's not
Speaking
how
of keeping record of wrongs,
right. We
do it to
maybe
ourselves.
against yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think so. If you would start there,
Yeah.
that hey, I'm fully loved. The God of the universe loves me. He sent Jesus to die for me. He knew everything about me and still did that. That if you would operate out of that, it's easier to give love when you do it. What happens is we don't love ourselves. Or we don't believe that God could really love us, and so we operate out of shame, and then that leads to anger and everything else, and those are easy. Like when I say this, that sounds so easy. Just remember how much you love it. It sounds so.
I'm
feels
smart
so good.
enough.
It feels
I'm
so
good enough.
but it's hard to do.
It is.
Yeah. And it's what, again, I got just keep going back to 1 John, but he says exactly that. 1
Right.
John chapter 4.
Yeah,
Because since God so loved us, we also ought to love one another.
Right.
So it starts with,
yeah, right,
Since
I'm
He
so
loved.
loved by God.
right.
And and so my last maybe practical thing would just be, man, put your eyes on that every day.
Right.
Open the scriptures and see how much God loves you. See how great His love for us is. Let that fill your heart and your mind and your soul with just a gratefulness, a gratitude, a thanksgiving. Of, can't believe you would love me that way. I want to reciprocate that out to Him and to others.
Yep.
So,
Man, that's good. Paul even ends the letter by saying, if anyone does not love the Lord, let that person be cursed. And that sounds strong, but I think the point is what he's saying is, if you don't love the Lord, you're cursed. Like it is cursed. You're cursed to live out this life
yeah.
that doesn't have any of the fruit of these things, which is love. And so,
Yep.
Man, we want to love the Lord. We want to be loved by the Lord, and then to live that out.
Yep.
That's it.
All right. Well, I think we have some work to do this week, guys.
Always.
What's happening next week? What do we got next week?
Next week is the communion and baptism, kind of hitting on some of the things that he mentions throughout the letter of communion and baptism, the Lord's Supper and all that.
Okay. Well, that's going to be a great episode too. So thank you guys for tuning in. You can check out everything on the show notes here, and you can always check us out at eastridge.church.
Yep.
Hope to see you guys at church on Sunday. And until next week, have a great week.
Thank you, Greg. Thanks, Kurt. We had a fly.
I know. It came
back.
Came at the end.
Came back